think we're ready when you guys are.
Okay. Those down. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for being here. As you know, we closed last meeting on the 14th, where for clerical, food service, transportation, we would ask for a 12% increase, which came to 1,028. So that's a 15% increase, which was 1,055. As you know, Rocco, this is strictly for insurance only, right? So the idea with this is to help bring up the threshold that was, from this year was 900, and then 918 on the other side, and contributions looking at 918 to a better situation for all the time for next year, with your ability to negotiate the entire agreement next spring. Right. So in looking at from a district standpoint, we would like to counter with $975 on the counter on those, which would be a decent bump from 918 for next year to offset that threshold.
Does anybody have any questions, concerns, something that you may want to address?
What is the premiums going to be next year? All we got was last year's.
Oh, do you get questions?
I got this old one. It doesn't have a new one.
That's the one. I got
This is, that's what it is, right?
Yeah, I think that's.
So.
Well, this is for this next year, 927.
And this has that 9% increase there.
Yeah, yes, because this is what last year.
Oh, okay.
You know the percentage, what the percentage of that is right off now?
He wanted the business situation at 70,000 gain for plus 6, right?
If we're going 92.
It'd be 6.2.
And then for.
Because they both be at 9K next year.
Yeah. So it's 6.2.
6.2.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is,
So we're gonna
this is what.
pay, depending on policy, about $60 more.
That's what for your contribution.
Right? Mike,
That's what they.
we're gonna pay roughly $60 more a check.
Yeah.
We-
So it's, so instead of 918, they want a 12% increase.
So if I did the math right, it's going up.
And clerical.
I don't know exactly on the different policies, but what we pay with our contribution and public times that's $174.
So. Teamsters.
So,
Yeah, and it's depending on which one you have select. Right. You do have flexibility.
Is there a reason why the custodial and maintenance cannot switch on to this program? Is there a?
I know it's one that Moses and I talked about for the future, so like when we do the full negotiations next year, we'd like to be on
Just one.
rather than having this so confusing and cumbersome. We would love to just get to one, and that's kind of like from our overarching vision is to get to one that then like all of our employees kind of have, and then we can really, if we kind of get to that, we can also offset a lot of these costs in terms of improving salaries because we're part of that trust. So the nice thing about getting into that situation moving forward is that we can have more money going to salaries versus having to spend out so much in insurance. So that's a big advantage for next year.
Does anybody have any other questions? Let me talk with my team. Well, who gave you possible counter?
Okay.
Oh,
Thanks. So real quick, when, like you want to get it all on one group, are we looking at? Which group are we looking at? Because I know there's different. It's just gonna be that plan right there, the one, the main plan. That's the plan, Jeff. We don't. Right. So just that main plan where, it's all different.
Right.
Because you know how with the Teamsters.
Yeah, we're all the
Plan
same,
is-
so it would go on to the other one.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect. That's kind of what we're thinking.
Yeah.
The one holding.
Yeah, it would be a lot more beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, it would.
Than some like this, because it's tough to count the two, and the one has such different thresholds than the other. It doesn't make sense. It becomes tough because then, like most of them, I said, you can have a lot of salary beaten up with insurance then
Right,
versus making it more feasible and consistent to give raises.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I guess we'll meet up with those next. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for. Well, I didn't know that they, I didn't know they. It's all different. I think it's nice. I thought they would at least tell them the difference and only the. Because that's the biggest difference with the Teamsters ones. Yeah, Teamsters insurance, everything's the same, like you're a child, you're single, everything, it's all the same price.
Yeah, that's the one, the first one, this one.
Which one? Oh, this one, yeah, that's what they want us. And that's what makes it so hard to negotiate, because you have two different rates.
Yeah, you're talking to two different unions.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that's a sort of in the pot. Which boy decided on work? I talked to Pete the other day, he said, he hasn't heard anything. Yeah, no, he's, well, he got into that EMT class. And so he's doing today, class, and then he's got to lift like 2 hours a day for. Now that everything's paid for there, so he's trying to basically get like a half-time gig, which I get, because. Now, the scholarship threshold is where it needs to be, and the expectation is if you make nationals next year, which is his goal. Then they're gonna jump into the highest threshold on that, be another $10,000 jump, and then you can pocket money. So it's like. Fine. Just more of a half-time gig then, like a 4 or 5 hour day job, and so I can take this EMT thing done for next year, because he's got to do 3 in medical. So, doing his junior and senior year, they're at the hospital in Helena, so he's like, oh, might be a little too much with this, and try to make sure I can maintain stuff. So, yeah, so. I think more of a short time work, no worries this summer. Which I was like this, want to get lazy call, but I get it too, because the big picture. Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's working for the big picture, so I was like, yeah. But there's 24 hours a day. There's work for 12. He's got 12 more hours to get. And just like that, college kids, if you think they're gonna want work. I did. They're not stuff though, as we were. That shit was not paid for. They have found it. So it's not, it would be gold, nice. Doesn't play out necessarily.
Not me.
It's like that finish line, found it, it's something. Yeah.
No. Okay. So after further discussion with everybody, we would like to counter. A few. The current increases, where they're at, we're asking for the school district just to pay that. There's no gain on the employee side, they're meeting exactly where they will be, they're not gonna be losing money, we're not making. That's what we're asking. Pay the current increase.
Obviously we'll have to. Yep, yep. You guys wanna head back out? Absolutely. We have to keep our discussion.
We have
Have a good one.
that, I mean,
Like this.
Please remember that one. Just reply to one.
So it stayed with both of their policies, just sort of.
Well, I'm just trying to understand what you're trying to say, like, the difference, are we asking to pay for a whole, like, plan? Single plan?
Yeah, yeah, I think so, because I think what they're getting at is like then, right, the increase they're asking for would be. Because we're planning to, because didn't, what was the total insurance increase for this year?
Oh,
To the plans versus what the request is it any different than the request really?
just, for me, I just feel like it's a big ask. So this year, 9%. It's a good fancy.
Was it 12, is that what theirs was? Or was it?
Yeah, theirs was different. That's the weird part. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys want. This is all different. So last year we went up like that 300, right? It was 280 actually. This year's 165. With insurance like through the district, 9%. We just kept there for 9%.
So they're still asking for that $1,000 range.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking that they're asking for.
Does it show on their plan? Is that what they're trying to pinpoint to? Because do we have versus last year versus this year on the number?
Yeah, so let's see this thing right. So if we use this, let's just use this as a baseline.
Okay,
You didn't want us to contribute 992. Or here's a Teamster plan.
would it be broke into the two though? Is the one group that has any two?
That's actually, here's a new plan, right? So I'm assuming that this is the plan that was still used. Right? Would they want us to cover that?
Well, we're certainly not covering that, that's
Yeah.
far more than that.
Or more than that, so I don't, that's why I'm trying to understand what he's finding.
Maybe I'll try to get clear, yeah.
And let me ask, I'm just gonna ask Kathy to just to make sure I'm giving you the right baseline. Hey, Rob. Yeah, can I see you just for a quick second? Yeah.
You just need kind of clarification on what were you asking? Were you asking for, because Moses is gonna check the rates, were you asking for that 992 for the individual contribution or because there's two groups here?
Yeah,
So which one, what are you asking for?
so, right, my understanding, clerical's going up 12%, custodial's going up 15, no, sorry.
Well, that's what you guys asked for.
Yeah, we're asking, so the clerical's going up 9%, right? Okay, and the insurance for the custodian maintenance, 12%. We're asking flat out.
For those increases, not the 12 and the 15.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I just wanted to clarify. Okay,
Perfect.
12%. 19, correct, so that was that, correct. So what's the standard to do the walking gets back? Yeah. We'll have to work that out. You need the math guy, with the math guy. Which is better than, well, 15, still. Still a lot, still a lot. Still a lot. Usually, last year, you're a bit that they weren't the same. No, they won't be different again. I don't, because we got to do the same. We went from all the many. So anyway, so then I got now that tracks over, so she's dedicated officer. And granted, her schedule's busy between all of them. That's the tracking and stuff. I gotta take her. Her time, so that 3 or 4. Gave my son for me kind of thing. We should try anything, but over her stuff. Because both of us. 9, 30. And then 4 days a week, and then 9:30 building. So that's what I was thinking. So, yeah. Kind of lunch kind of thing would be good. So. Then what along them? Do they can do some good stuff? Do they do part-time stuff there too? So, okay. That way too. He was trying to get up to all these. There's CJ Williams. Yeah, that's some part-time stuff where he did 4 or 5 hours a day back there. So he's calling this actually. Also, they've got a person on their fees. So everybody's hiring. Yeah. Now we've got settled with the time frames. Also realistic guy. Yeah. I did concrete made all my list. Said it's John Dine, the doctor. No doubt. Get up and sit, go pour concrete all day and come back and bang on the school door. I know, right? Origin first double or just couple. Can I get a couple in here? 1, 2, maybe? Not at all. Very. Might have listened to like this one. It's either the military out now, and as a baby. Yeah, but
Yeah, all right, so Ryan, this is,
Yeah.
this is what Ms. Gath said, okay, so like baseline, like what we go by, I was mistaken, it's that 3,500. So that's what we based it, and then we looked at it as well, the teachers, most of the teachers take this,
Okay.
so.
It's 13.
So it's 13 now, right? But this is what, so that's the thing, it's like, I don't know if that's what they're asking for.
Well, he said they were asking for 9%
Oh, and then.
on 9 and then 12 on the other. So could you move that number and see what that looks like? So they want 9 and 12.
Right now, it's all at 918. That got you there.
Next year, they will be 918, so it's something, yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel about it, I just feel like we just have one number, one
Oh.
your contribution.
I'm
number.
telling you, I was gonna say Louise the answer to that.
Yeah.
With a,
So
don't
918,
disagree.
so it's me 1028, right? We're at 12%.
Okay.
And then. 1,000. Yep.
Zero. So we came in at 6. They want 12 and 15.
I don't know, it's up to you guys, I just said.
What's the rest of it? You need that.
So teachers are at 1027. The unit that they have is 1027. Pairs are at 900 for full time. So I mean, they're in between. 12% is a little higher than the teachers are. That's higher than what we get a teacher.
What was our teacher on?
He was 9, he was at 9. We gave him at 10.27. That's what our,
27, that's what I was
that's what
thinking
our.
was, that's what I was thinking, is. What-
Because Brian, you gotta also consider that if we go onto that trust, you know, I'm sure they're not gonna take less
Right,
if we give them that right now, and then we get a really good rate next year. So I just don't know how to consider.
so,
Yeah.
if we go over the 10%, I think it's just helpful.
80%, I did that one right, 992. And that is, so that will pay. That buys medical 2,000 or single, so no.
And then 92.
So they wouldn't have to.
Okay. That's
And then they can-
I think, because it covers one.
Yeah.
It's fair, so we're kind of, basically now, we're kind of, what's it on that?
So they'll still have to pay, they'll still have to pay, it was the same as what they're teaching now for.
But it also gives Moses a difference from 19, and that's a.
So we're still giving you, we're still giving you a little jump.
A jump, which is what we were after. I feel like that's the consistent piece of both of the one set, but it's not so inflated like 1028 and 1055. Kind of, we're still jumping to where it feels like. I say. And I think this is, maybe that's what we're gonna say, this is. It's all good. We're still in our final road, right? We feel like we've come up, because what's this increase? You said this was 6.2. Yeah, so this is 6.2. So then we come up to that, figure out there's the should be really. But
I think it's
still underneath, it's 1 cent. Down, you feel okay with that? Yeah, that's fine. And we're really hoping that this is what. Okay.
I think that's, I think that's 8%, so they go to the same one, then the next year's union. That's one we fight for. What we want, the cheaper insurance, but we want their contribution.
Yep.
Right, instead of
Yes.
thinking, we want their insurance and soon look at 92, we're gonna say, well, we want cheaper insurance, but we want the $1,100
Yeah.
contribution.
And I think Moses, you have a point too, he keeps it between parents and teachers.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a piece across the board, that we're kind of between where we gave for parents and teachers. So that feels, like we're equitable across the board. Stuff, like that's the number. Okay.
Okay, bring that in.
Sounds good.
We're ready for it. We're ready. You're ready.
Where's that Friday? Oh, yeah. Friday or something.
No.
Thank you. So we're kind of looking at then the request of 9 and 12. Certainly, as you know, then you have to kind of consider where, insurance contributions that we give the other groups. And so the proposal I'm gonna turn back to you because it's pretty equitable too, because it's between where what we negotiated with parents as well as teachers. And so you guys be sitting in between both of those groups with contributions. We'd like to keep the number consistent and offer 8%, which would be 992 contribution. Which does cover the first plan.
the revised medical for 2,000.
To cover it.
Does anybody have concerns, comments?
Did you say what was that, eight? Even for both groups?
Correct. And you said that in the other groups, that don't fall under the Teamsters collective bargaining agreement, that's what they're currently paying, right? By my understanding, or no?
This would kind of put it in between contributions between paras. So your group would be in between what we gave paras. Stop.
Bucks a month still.
What's that?
It's already about $100 a month still. Depending on policy, but out of our pockets. We don't have Teamsters. Exchange insurances, I mean, last year theirs goes up a whole bunch and they get a big increase to theirs to cover it. Now this year ours goes up a bunch and whether we can take a big loss out of our pockets. That doesn't seem very fair.
Any others? Are they paying the same prices?
Like, well, and like you said, it covers the one plan, but the prices on this. For like the second group are substantially high. You know, that rate went to. What is on for their facilities, so that one's at what? They could be saying almost $1,500, you know, that's a huge amount.
Yeah.
And there isn't any group we're paying out that much insurance to,
Right,
not even close.
right.
So that's the hard part with this situation was that, well, I get what you're saying, you know, I mean, certainly we always want to think about that. That rate, if you want to keep that plan, is way more.
Right.
A lot more, and that's where we're trying to get to where we can do something that's feasible, that when we can roll over into the trust makes sense. So it's just across the board. And we're not, because those kind of rates, I can tell you guys, in a lot of places, they just offer like a set amount, like $900. And you choose whatever plan you want. End of discussion. There isn't trying to then get to covering a complete plan anymore, because it's not really feasible for districts to pay out that much. You know, $1,500 is a
Cover the
lot.
whole plan. We're just asking for us not to have to pay more. We say, by changing from Teamsters, you guys say, and I know it's different faces now, say, what, was it like 78,000 a year? On insurance that you guys were paying for people that didn't take it because you had to pay for everybody. That's why it was such a big deal to get us off of Teamsters. And we finally changed, and then a couple years later, we see this happen.
When was that?
2 years ago.
That was when Brad was negotiating it, so that was the year before you got here, when he was acting superintendent.
Yeah.
That's why I was wondering if there was a set number for their plan where it penalizes the single guys. And
On that.
The only set number would be was, negotiation. And with our negotiation, that's the only set number that I know of. What was that? The only set number, no, we have is on, in the Teamster agreement. I don't know. I didn't see any. I didn't see any. Set numbers.
so in all actuality, can the single guys, well, we have to re-up our insurance in August. Can they,
So I think what you're trying to ask is, could we
can let Logan switch
change
to,
to a non-composite?
right, could he switch over to my Teamster plan? I like to call it Teamster 1 and Teamster
Right,
Why must one, must.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So,
Sure, to make it a little more,
right, so
Yeah,
where
because
the
like
big,
Logan, that's on the signal
Sure.
plan, which would make pays the same thing that I pay for the same policy, even though he's single and I sound, it's what she's questioning.
right,
sure,
I don't know how to-
we would have,
that would end up saving
right,
you guys money also.
Yeah.
If they could do that,
that's true.
so.
Yeah, no, that'd be one we'd have to find out, but yeah, we'd definitely find out on that.
Okay,
Because that, at the end of the day, as you guys know, it's trying to bend the land of insurance now, because it's a lot. It is,
it is.
crazy, right? So that's where we're trying to get from a school district standpoint, is to get to a better situation for everyone, so that we can actually keep up with those kind of rates.
Right.
And make it so that you can kind of then move forward with salary adjustments and just keep the whole. Because, yeah, those are a lot.
So can we? Would that help bring us back to the 12 and 9 if some of these single guys could jump off of that plan? For the beginning of September, to where it would help even out your contributions?
We have to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to find out, have a look at that, play around with the numbers a little bit. So, did you want to outcome this one, Rocco, or?
Let me talk to these guys one more time.
Yeah.
Get their feelers on this. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, sorry. Let's do that. Have a meeting.
This is, they could all be in the stairs one.
Like in the.
Yeah, like then, because that is so much less expensive.
It is less expensive and.
Is there any way they could get to that plan, you know what I mean, rather than be on this super inflated plan?
Dude, I have no idea, I don't know what they're talking about.
So,
My third year, I don't know what negotiation he's talking about. I don't know what Brad convinced him into doing, but
I don't,
I mean, you can't. I mean, if they can choose between the two, then we set the price at $9.92. If they're capable of switching between the two.
Yeah.
You can't have two different contributions. Yeah, still that.
yeah,
So.
and so what I will say,
okay,
the only thing that I know with this is they created this Teamster plan. The one that's just composite, everything's the same, family, whatever. They created that, like Musk created that especially for those guys. But I think they have they have to have a certain number that takes it. And so if they go below that, what happens? So I don't know.
Don't get.
Yeah,
And I
wouldn't know either, so
who do you talk to?
I would have to talk to your rep.
we never, yeah, so I mean.
Because that's what they wanna do, let's, everybody jump on this plan, $9.92.
That's what we did.
Contribution.
That's what,
That's what I would say is that, that's what they wanna do, because she's right, a single person under this Teamster is still paying the same as somebody that's sitting.
yeah, so like that would be, I mean, that's a home run, but like you said, most, we would need to talk to a rep.
Yeah, we would have to talk
So it
about
might
it.
just involve, finding out, yeah, but I can go to that, but, yeah. But,
And the only sucky thing is, I will tell you guys, open enrollment is starting tomorrow.
yeah,
So we've already signed paperwork for next year. The only thing that we would do is get the contribution updated. But everything's signed, so I don't know how. We would have to really talk to Don and see what we can do, if that's what they wanna do, is just jump everybody in.
Do they have anything to do with the degree of what they do for?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's any-
Their workman's comp is more,
yeah,
all of these people versus.
Yeah. And all I know that though is that Kathy was telling me that they just made this plan that's similar to what Teamsters was like 2 years ago, like what their plan was. I don't know if there's any kind of ties. They do break apart on it. But yeah, it's all of them are, like, the Teamster one is nice. Because if you do it like,
So if they
if you have
switch
a family
insurance,
plan, it's only 1,300 instead of 2,400, so it's. I don't know, and that's the thing, it just sucks because I signed everything, like, open enrollment is ready to
for
go.
them, so.
Yes.
Like,
So you would think that there would be a difference between employee and
I
family,
would think so.
because that's what it is with like.
That's what this.
And this one
yeah,
is,
That's
as
what
they
they
all switch to this one,
Yeah.
they're gonna help you or family.
I don't think they will get that.
Because you're gonna go from paying, I think there was what, you're gonna go from paying 500. You're gonna go from paying 530 a month to 1,100, 1,200.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna want
I
that.
agree.
Yeah.
It's so off, I mean, honestly, how they set those up, Moses.
Yeah.
That's-
And that's all I got from Miss Kathy is that they set it up because, like what they said it right. We were paying for everybody that was under a Teamster, like with the job description Teamster, we were paying for it, even if they weren't taking insurance. And so they went on to this and it's just, I thought
Across the board the same.
it's the same, but we don't have to pay for people that don't take it.
That's why the rates are probably so skewed.
That was the biggest one.
You don't have to.
Yeah, because the one in Washington was just taking, they were putting everything in a pot. So if you had 26 Teamsters, you would have to pay 26.
Yep.
So right now, we're currently paying 13 of them. So,
This just kind of, yeah, situation.
so.
And still, a little contribution, 992.
Yeah, that's not bad. And I get it, I just did the numbers. If the teams just took this plan at 992, they're cut like their employee side, it was what they paid in the part was 621 instead of 530. So $90 extra. So I get what you're saying that, I'm paying an extra $100, like how. I mean, the fairness goes with,
But it's fair, but at the same time, when we pay for,
yeah,
but here's the scoop is, we only pay, for the single.
single. And so that's the.
So the teachers that are on the family still have to come.
Yeah, and that's the biggest part, if they wanna go fair, like, it's not fair, but the Teamster plan. The family plan is only 1,300, while everybody else has to pay 25.
Right.
I don't agree.
Oh,
Sure, well, everywhere I did that, yeah.
It's just, they said.
$20 for mine.
The single rate is not a bunch of, they're like, it's
$20. Just full different.
yeah, we'll agree with that, they're that kind of, you should be the same, what you think about it. Because we're paying it as a single for like
Premium on it.
paras and teachers.
No, premium.
And you,
So I went from 320
I just-
to like 4.
And just keep going back to that, man, if that's what you want, bring it.
Yeah.
Or we'll find out, you are, it's me.
yeah,
Other panels lowering it.
We can first.
all, unless you want to look at those layer percent.
So we hear your proposal and we need, we kind of want to discuss it with the members. Let them know what's going on. This is what the school district is about. We also discussed out there about, you mentioned that having one insurance, for all the groups. We're talking about health and welfare, the contract is open. On that specific item. Maybe we can talk about it now. And we'll kind of go through that process.
I mean, we can see by talking with our rep Dawn. To see if that's feasible at this point, I know for the future, there's some options, but I don't know, it depends on that kind of timeline with that. Yeah, if that's doable, but we would be happy to reach out and explore it. And see if that's doable 100%.
If we can do that, then I think we could have a lot more to discuss.
Yeah.
But if we can't do that. I gotta get more of the members' viewpoints on the.
Sure. Yeah. No, and I was thinking about kind of what you had to say too, and with those contributions that, like, for the paras and the teachers, what we did across there is we're still just paying like we would on yours, then like that 9%, we're only paying the single rate for them. So any of those family plans, they have to come out of pocket too. So the ones where you've heard probably then they're getting paid is only for the single one. So that's kind of staying consistent, right, on all the groups and staying, and like I said, you guys would be kind of in between teachers and pairs, so that same approach is being used across the board. It's not like their family being paid for. So, yeah, so I just want to make sure we're kind of try to kind of keep it consistent. Now, if they would allow that, yeah, that could be great, because there's some, and then my guess is, right, I wasn't here when this happened, but because we kind of were eyeballing these, my thought was that it has such a weird swing to it. Like it goes from, you can pay the single, then if you go on a family, another one, it jumps up astronomically, right? And that was in an effort to then not have to pay for renters who don't take insurance, is that right?
Yeah.
Was that part of kind of?
That was why I was
process?
thinking last week, because I told him like seeing that, I don't know if it was like 70.
Yeah, it was 77,000.
Because they had to pay for all
Yeah.
employees, whether they took it or not.
Gotcha.
Not
Well,
before.
when you look at that, it just seems so off. That's like.
Yeah.
That's, and that's where our take was like, man, we could get just one that made sense across the board. So whether that's family or single, it's like, it just makes sense because those numbers then, and then on the other one, it would make sense because then you're the same across single or family.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's odd.
That's the beauty of that Teamster one, that.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, we got some avenues to go.
Okay. We'll check on ours too.
I've set up a meeting with the members and get the feel on where we're at. This is what we discussed. Where you guys want to go with this? Then if you do have the option to move in one plan,
We'll do some calling tomorrow if you can do on your end and then we'll touch base. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.